So, welcome everyone to tonight's class. If you're here, please go ahead to drop a message on Discord so that we have more people join the class. And also, if you are yet to follow us on Twitch, go ahead and follow us. And if you're yet to subscribe to our channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We already have our instructor for tonight, Valerie, on the call. She's a front end engineer. I hope I didn't get. I hope I got that right. Yes, she's a software engineer, and she's situated in Kenya. So, Valerie, the class is all yours. If we have any questions, I'll display it on the screen for you.
Thank you so much, Noaka.
You're welcome.
As Noaka has said, my name is Valerie Uhuru. Again, I'm a software engineer at a company called Kupokopo. I have been coding for about 2 years right now. When I'm not coding, I love to dance salsa. So that is like the social activity that I do. Welcome all to today's class. I hope we will interact and enjoy. And if you have any question, please feel free to ask it. Okay. So today's class, we're talking about operators in JavaScript. Operators allow us to perform certain actions on values or anything that is provided. And in JavaScript, we have 4 types of operators. The first one, we have arithmetic operators, we have comparison operators, we have assignment operators, and logical operators. I will start with arithmetic operators. As we all know, when someone says arithmetic, what is meant is mathematical operations. So arithmetic operators allow us to perform mathematical operations on values and in JavaScript, variables, and then return a value. So we have different arithmetic operators. We have a couple of them. What you can do, think about maths, how when you go to, I don't know if the same system is in Nigeria as ours, but then we have primary, we have secondary school, and then tertiary education, which is university. So when you go to primary school, right from nursery, kindergarten, you're taught how to do mathematical operations. So there you start with adding numbers or just counting. And then as you proceed, it gets more complex. And the basics of it all is there'll always be either of these mathematical operations that you'll be doing. You'll either be adding something, you'll either be subtracting, multiplying something, dividing something, exponentiating, which is raising a number to a power. Either you're getting the modulus, or you're adding something to a value, or removing a value from something. So arithmetic operators perform basic mathematical operations. It takes numerical values as operands, which can be variables or literal values, and return a value. So we'll start with addition. So the way I'll do this is we will, as we've seen here, we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, exponentiation, modulus, decrement, and increment. We will code each and every one of them and see how they work. So I will be switching from VS Code, which is the code editor that I'm going to use right now, and the slides. So you let me know if you can see my editor right now. I'll share my entire screen so we're able to see the editor. Namaka, are you able to see?
It's still loading here. Okay, we can see it. but you'd have
Awesome.
to zoom in a bit.
So the first one, okay. Is it okay now?
No, still zoom in a bit.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, yes, this works.
Now it's okay.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. So the first operand that we're going to look at is addition. When addition is taking a number and adding it to a value, I'm not sure of any how we are taught in English that when you use the same word to describe the word, you're not describing it. I don't know how to describe additions. You're like, one person is called and then the other person is called to stand next to this other person. So we are adding this extra person to this one person who was here. So I will take two variables and add them to see how we can use addition as an arithmetic operand. So as we all know, we declare variables in JavaScript using either var, let, or const. For today, I will use var, which is a global way of declaring variables. So I'll say var a is equal to, let's say, 80. That's the value I'm assigning to this variable a. Then I will say var b is equal to, say, 40. Then now to add, what we do is take a and then have this sign. If you can see the highlighted part in brackets, I have an addition sign. So it's a plus b. So because we want to see the output, we will do console.log a, which is the variable. We all know that a variable is used to store a value. So 80, which is a value, is assigned to variable a. So whenever you want to access 80, you'll always use a to reference 80. So when I say a, I'm saying 80. So it's a, which is 80, plus b, which is 40. The expected result here is 120. So let's run this and see if that is what we will see. The answer is 120. So this is how you perform mathematical operations. This is like the most basic thing you do, but normally when you're writing code, it's never just 80 plus 40. But when you think of addition, it's just two or more values, and then you use the addition sign in between every value to get that value. So we'll take the second one, which is subtraction. When you subtract something, is you're taking something away from something. So say we have two variables, variable a and variable b in this case. If we are subtracting, it means if I say subtract b from a, what I'm trying to do is taking 40 out of a. So in this case, we'll do console.log, which will give us the output because we're using the terminal. So we'll say 80 minus b, which is 40. This sign here is the most important thing that we should be looking at right now, the sign between a and b, which is a subtraction sign. That is what tells your computer that the operation that is about to be done is subtraction. So please take away a value from a value that is declared. So in this case, our expected output is 40. When you subtract 40 from 80, you get 40. I hope my maths is still right. You get 40. The third operand is multiplication. Multiplication is you getting the product of two numbers or two or more numbers. You can have more than two, but it can't be one. So when you're getting the product of two or more numbers, you use an asterisk, which is the sign for multiplying numbers. So in this case, we have two numbers. So what we'll do is console again, .log a, and then we use the asterisk, which is the sign for multiplication in JavaScript. What asterisk does is it tells your editor or compiler that the operation that is about to be done here is multiplication. So the most important thing that we should be looking at right now is the signs in between the values that we are performing operations on. So 80 times 40, I'm not so good in maths, but I think we should be expecting something about 2,400 or something. I'm not sure. So let's see what we get. Oh, it's 3,200. That is getting the product of two numbers. And then we go to division. Division is dividing two numbers and getting the value. So say I have 80 and divide by 40, it's so we do console log, get A, and the sign for dividing numbers is a forward, it's a forward slash, right? What we expect to get is 2. No, yeah, 2. So let's see if that is what we get. I'll just clear my terminal so it's clear for everyone. We get 2. That's okay. The next operand is exponentiation. This is raising a number to the power of the value that you provide. Exponentiation. In our case, we're working with var A and var B, which was declared up there. So if we say, let's declare a variable called result, which will store the value of the exponentiation value. So it's A, 2 asterisks, and then our next value. So what we're trying to communicate in this case is take 80 and raise it to the power of 40. So that is essentially what this is trying to do. So if we run that code, oh, we've not logged the value. So to see the value on the terminal, you have to always remember to have console.log. Otherwise, you won't see any output. So we are logging the value of result. I will comment out these ones, the values for addition, subtraction, and multiplication, so that we can see what happens with exponentiation. That is what happens. So 80 raised to the power of 40 is that whole value. The next one is modulus. Modulus. So when we were in school, you were doing math and then you were told find the remainder of this. So that is what essentially modulus does. So again, I will declare another variable called modulus result, which I will assign the value of 80, which is stored in our variable A, then B. So what we're essentially trying to do with this is get the remainder of division operation that happens when you divide 80 by 40. So we have to log the result, console log modulus result. Get 0. So if you're good with maths, which I know you all are, is when you divide 80 by 40, there's no remainder. 0 cancels 0, 4 goes into 8 2 times, and there's no remainder. So that is why we're getting 0. So let's try and find a number that will have a remainder. Let's try 85 divided by 40. We'll definitely have to have a remainder. The remainder is 5. So 85 divided by 40. 40 goes into 80 two times perfectly, which is 80. And then 40 cannot be divided by 5. So what remains out of 85 is 5. So 85 minus 80 is 5, which is our answer here. So what modulus does is when you divide two or more values, it gives you the remainder of the operation that you're trying to do. The next one is decrement. This is an interesting one. You'll always meet it when you're coding, and I love it. So it is annotated by two subtraction signs. This essentially means you're trying to minus one value from let's say a variable. So in this case, we have our variable is 85. If I say 85 minus, I'm trying to minus 1 from 85. But the most interesting bit about this is you can always specify the amount of the value that you want to be subtracted from the value that you want to subtract from. So in this case, you're doing 1, which is 85 minus minus. So if I say result var decrement result is equal to variable a, which stores 80 minus minus. Let's see what we have. Our expected output is from 85, we minus 1, which is 84. So if we don't see 84, that means what we have fed is not right. So just do that. So, okay, what happens if you reassign that value, it doesn't do anything to it. So what you have to do is, right here, what we've done is initialized variable a and assigned it a value of 85. So what we are doing down here is changing the value of a, which is called reinitializing. So we have variable a up here, which is 85, but then we have another variable a down here, which we are minusing 1 from, and then the value of a now will be 84 instead of 85, which is here. The way code is compiled is it goes line by line. So it will go to line 11 and say, oh, variable a is 85. Goes to line 12 and says variable b is 40. The next ones are commented out, so nothing happens. And then down here, again, we have reinitialized variable a, which was already initialized at line 11. And then now it gives variable a the new value of 84 because it assumes that that is what we want to do. So in this case, what we have done is taken away 1 from 85, which is the initial variable, and then we have logged the value of a, which at this point now is 85. Increment is the next operand, which does the complete opposite of decrement. So what it does is it adds one value, it adds one, let's say 1, it adds 1 to the value that we already have. So right now in line 11, a is 85, right? Then we come to line 33, A is 84. So what increment will do is add 1 to the value of A as of line 33, and then what we will get is 85 instead of 84. I know that will be confusing because we already have var 85 at line 11, but what I've said is our compiler goes line by line. At line 11, our variable is 85. At line 33, our variable A is 84 because we have reinitialized the value of A. So when we go to line 37 and do something like A plus plus, it's like again we're reinitializing it the third time. So what it will do is the last value of A as of now, last value of A as of line 33 is 84. So in line 37, we are adding 1 to 84. What we expect to see is 85. Let's run our code and see what we get. Oh, we didn't log, sorry. So let's log. Yeah. So the first 84 is for line 34, which was decrementing the value of 85, which was there previously. So that means the new value of A is 84. So what is being done in line 37 is adding 1 to 84. So what we're doing in line 38 is just logging the value of A. And this A is not the A that we have in line 11, it's the A that we had in line 33. So I'll just comment out line 11 and 11. Okay. If I comment out line 11, our variable A is, it's 85 at this point. Variable A is 85 at this point. So that means at line 38, our variable A should be 86 instead of 85. Let's run our code and see what happens. Voila, it's 85, which is the previous value because we've not done anything to it. And then line 37 adds 1 to 85, which is incrementing. So I know this sounds so basic when you're doing it right now, but remember every mathematical operation comes back to adding a number, however complex it might seem. It always boils down to you adding a value, you're subtracting, you're either dividing, multiplying, or raising it to another value, you're decrementing or finding the remainder of a division. It always boils down to this. So when you know what to do when you're told to add, to subtract, to multiply, to divide, to exponentiate, to find the remainder, which is the modulus, or to decrement or increment, you know what you're doing. So that is all we have for arithmetic operations in JavaScript. So we'll go to the next one. I'll stop sharing so that I can share another screen. Sorry. I'm back to my slides. So that is all for arithmetic operators. Now we go to comparison operators. When you hear the word comparison, what comes to your mind? Anyone from the class?
Okay, Valerie, you can't see the comment, but if there's any comment, I would see it on the screen. Can you hear me?
Yes. Could you repeat what you said? Can you hear me? We can also use the private, is it the chat, to share answers. When you're told to compare two things or two or more, what comes to your mind? Okay, I'll go ahead and give my answer. My basic understanding of comparison. So you're given two things, and you're supposed to either say how similar they are or how different they are. That's like the most basic English I could use to describe it. So in JavaScript, a comparison operator compares two operands and returns a Boolean value as a result of the comparison. So say uh, what should I say? You're told to compare if a cup is similar to a jug. They're not similar. So in that case, we have only two answers. It's either they're similar or they're not similar. So when I say Boolean value, we only have two Boolean values, which is true or false. So when you say they're similar, it means it's true. When you say they're not similar, it means it's false. So we have a couple of operands that are used when you're doing comparison. We have equals. We have, this should be, we have not equal. We have strictly equal. We have strictly not equal. We have greater than. We have less than. We have greater than or equal to. We have less than or equal to. So again, back to code to see how all these operators work. Okay. So we're here. Equals to, there's two equal signs. So we start with equal to, which is annotated by two equal signs in JavaScript. So if I say var name is equal to Valerie, and I say var name2 is equal to Nomaka, I'll use your name because you're the one I'm so familiar to. So if you compare this, these are strings in JavaScript. So if you compare the first name Valerie to the second name Nomaka, are they the same? Okay. Let's see what our editor will tell us. So console.log name equal to name2. False, because Valerie, the string, is not equal to Nomaka, the string. But what happens if I decide to have Valerie in both strings? What do I expect to see? It's true because Valerie. So what happens is it looks at the string on the left of the operand and on the right to see if they are there any similarities. Are they similar? Is Valerie equal to Romaka? No. So that's false. Is Valerie equal to Valerie? Yes. And then it equates to true. Let's see what happens to not equal. Not equal is another operand, which is denoted by an exclamation mark and an equal sign. So Let's try and see if name and name2 are not equal to each other. So console.log name is not equal to name2. Remember, what is returned is a Boolean, which is either true or false. So what we're doing in line 19 is essentially telling our code to compare the first name and the second name if they are not the same. So if we want to compare if they are the same, we use two equal signs. If we want to compare if they're not the same, we use an exclamation mark and an equal sign to do that. So what we expect to see in this case is true. So, okay, is false. If you say Valerie is not equal to Valerie, you're lying because Valerie is equal to Valerie. Let me repeat this. The first variable is Valerie. The second variable is Valerie again. So what we're doing in line 19 is saying Valerie is not equal to Valerie. What do we expect? No, it is false because Valerie is equal to Valerie. So if I have a different string, say Charity, what do we expect to see if we try to compare the two? Valerie is not equal to Charity, so that should be true. We get true because Valerie and Charity are not equal, so it's true that they're not equal. The second one we got false because it was false. They were equal. The third one, the third one is strictly equal, which is really interesting in JavaScript. Whenever you're trying to compare anything, you're always advised to use strictly equal because JavaScript is a loosely typed language, and it allows us to go away with so many things. Equal sign will allow you to go away with so many things. So say I have one, which is a string, and then I have one, which is a number. These two things are different. But then if we use two equal signs, which is equal, to compare the two, what will we get? I guess you guessed will get true in this case. The reason why we are getting true is because the two equal signs only compares values. It doesn't look at the data type. So for line 13, for the first name, the data type is a string. The second one is a number. But then when you're comparing using two equal signs, what happens is it just looks at the values. Oh, the first value is 1. Sure. The second one is 1. I think they're the same. But then when you compare using three equal signs, which is strictly not equal to, this line here will give us a false value because it looks at the data type and the data that is stored, that is the value. So the first one is 1, yes, but then that 1 is a string. The second one is 1 and it's a number. So a string cannot be equal to a number. So let's run our code and see what happens. The first one is true as we had preempted, and the second one is false because string 1 and 1 cannot be the same. One is a string, the other one is a number. These two things cannot be the same. So you're always advised when you're writing any code in JavaScript and you're trying to compare two things, always use strictly not equal to. The same applies to strictly not equal to. Now let's look at greater than. Greater than. Greater than, as it sounds, is a value is greater than another value. Say 9 is greater than Let's store var num1 is equal to 100, var num2 is equal to 80. If we try to log, if num1 is greater than, remember when you're comparing values, you're not always trying to be right. You're trying to see if what you think is right is right. So right now we're trying to compare if num1 is greater than num2. What do you expect? Num1, remember, is 100 and num2 is 80. Is 100 greater than 80? Yes. So that will evaluate to true. Let's see if we get that is true. We can do the opposite as well. We can say, we can just decide to be tough-headed and just say, you know what, 80 is greater than 100, so let's see what happens. So if you say num2 is greater than num1, what we essentially mean here is 80 is greater than 100. Is 80 greater than 100? No, it's not. So what we expect to get, it's a false. There you go. So 80 is not greater than 100. Then we have less than, which does the converse of what greater than does. We have greater than or equal to. Greater than or equal to is interesting because it does two things. It compares if it's greater than the value that is on the right or if they're equal to. So if I say, if I try to console.log num1 is greater than or equal to num2. What this line is trying to say is 100 is greater than or equal to 80. So this will evaluate to true because it fulfills one condition. When you're using or, it's you do not want it to fulfill all the conditions. It's either one or all of them. So if it's greater than, then that's true. We don't look at the rest. If it's equal to, then that's okay. If it's greater than and equal to, which, yeah, if it's greater than or equal to, it will still be true. So whenever you hear the word or, what we're trying to see is, does it fulfill one condition, just one? So in this case, 100 fulfills the condition of greater than, but it's not equal to 80. So what will we get? We'll get a true because it fulfills one condition, which is greater than. So let's see if what we think is right. Right. So we get a true. Less than works the same, and then less than or equals to works the same as greater than or equals to. That would be it for comparison operators. When you're writing code in real world, you'll always be comparing passwords. Say you're trying to authenticate. Sorry, you're trying to authenticate. So when someone logs in, you have to compare if the email that they've provided is the same as the email that is in your database. You have to see if the password is the same as the one that is in the database. Most of the time when you provide a wrong email, you'll always see wrong email, invalid email, or invalid password. So what happens behind the scenes is we are trying to compare the two strings to see if they are true or false. So if it's false, it means it's not you. And if it's true, it means it's you, and we will give you the permission to continue carrying out any operation that you want to. So that's it for comparison operators. We are going to assignment operators. Again, I'll stop sharing my screen so I can share another one. Awesome. So we move to assignment operators. Just the word assignment. What does it ring a bell when someone tells you to assign yourself this thing? assign it to Valerie, assign it to Nomaka. What does that mean? It means take that task and do it yourself, right? Or give that task to Nomaka, or assign it to something else. So in JavaScript, based on the value on the right of an assignment operand, an assignment operator assigns the value to its left operand. We're about to see how that happens. So the most basic application is the use of equal sign to assign a value to a variable, which we all do. So what you should remember from this is based on the value on the right, an assignment operand assigns that value on the right to its left operand. So these are the assignment operands that we have. We have assignment, which is equal sign. We have addition assignment, which is plus equal. Subtraction assignment, which is minus equal. Division assignment, multiplication assignment, exponentiation assignment, greater than or equal to assignment. Then we have modulus assignment. So let's see how all this translates to code. Sorry, I should say my editor. Okay, that works. So we're moving to assignment operators. And I have a bunch of code. So we have equal to, which we've said the most basic, the most basic of all is the first one, which is assignment operand. So when I say the right value is assigned to its left operand, this is what I mean. I will say var name equals to top universe. Top universe Africa. So that's the name, right? So this is our right, and this is our left. So what is on our right, which is top universe Africa, is assigned to what is on our left. So that means name or top universe Africa is assigned to variable name. So whenever you want to access name, you don't go writing top universe Africa, which is what is on our right. You just use what is on our left. Say console log name. Oh, sorry. Yeah, when you look at that is top universe. So the value on the right, which is top universe, was taken and stored inside a variable called name. So whenever you want to access top universe, whenever you want to reference top universe in any part of your code, you only have to remember the variable name. That is an assignment operator. So let's look at addition assignment. Addition assignment, which is denoted by plus equal sign. Okay. So let's say we have var a is equal to 9. if we say A plus equal to 9, then we log console.log the value of A. What this does is, remember in line 16, our variable A is 9. So what this does is it takes the operand on the right, which is 9, and adds it to the value of A, which is 9. Let me use a different value. So it's, yes. So it takes 7, which is on our right, and adds it to our left operand, which is A. So it's 9 plus 7. When you add 9 plus 7, what do you get? 16, I guess. Let's see if that is what we have. Exactly. So we get 16. So remember always that when you're doing an assignment operator, you're taking the value on your right and adding it to the value on the left, and then assigning it to your initial variable. Our initial variable here is A. A, in our case, represents 9. So we have 7 plus 9 is equal to 16. So 16 is assigned to variable A. So when you try to get the value of A, you'll get 16 instead of the previous 9. Subtraction, that is the next operand, subtraction assignment. Subtraction assignment works in a different way. It doesn't look at the left, it looks at the right instead. So say we have variable B is equal to 10. Then say B minus equal to 8. So what we're doing here is we are taking 10 and subtracting 8 from it. What do you expect to see? So let's log. So it's 10, 8, which is on the right, minus 10. Sorry, it's 10. So yes, the way assignment operators work is you take the operand on your right. Remember, addition assignment takes the operand on your left and adds it to the operand on your right. So assignment does the complete opposite of that. It takes the operand on your right and subtracts it from the operand on your left. So in our case, what's on our right? It's 8. So it takes 8 and subtract it from 10. So in other words, in simple words, it would be 10 minus 8. So we are taking away 8 from 10, and we get 2. All these assignment operands work the same way as addition operand, which takes the operand on your left and does the operation to the operand on the right. It's only division assignment that works differently. So let's go to my the most interesting bit of this class, which is logical operators. I'll stop sharing so that I can share the slides. Awesome. So when someone tells you about logic, what comes to your mind? Just in simple terms, logic is logic. It's either true or false. It's just that it's a fact. You cannot change it. There's no two way to it. It has no gray area. So logical operators perform logical operations. So when I say logic is logic, just try to tie it to logical operations. So we have three logical operators. We have logical and, we have logical or, and we have logical not. So logical operator and is true if both the operands are true, else it evaluates to false. So when someone is about to drive a car, I'm not sure about the rules in Nigeria, but let's talk about universal laws. So say you have to be 18 years of age and you have to have a driving license. So you have to fulfill these two things for you to be able to drive a car. If you don't fulfill one of them, you are not eligible to drive a car. So what logical operator and does is it ensures that you have to fulfill all the two conditions, not just one, two of them. So something to note is you can also use logical operators with numbers. In JavaScript, 0 is false and all the other values are true. So yeah, computer language, it's always in zeros and ones. So 0 is false, 1 is true. But then here we're trying to say if anything is 0, it's false. If it has any other value apart from 0, could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all those values are true, but 0 is false. So that is logical operator and. What you have to remember from logical operator and is it has to fulfill all the conditions and requirements for it to be true. If 1 is false and 4 are true, it's a false. If 2 are false and 3 are true, it evaluates to a false. If 5 are true, it means it's true. So regardless of the number of truths, if there's a false inside, it's false. We have logical operator or. Just the way I explained earlier, or gives you room to choose either. It's either. You can either have one, or if you have both, it's okay, but then one is still okay. So logical operator or is true if either of the operand or Boolean values is true. If both operands are false, the result is false. So if I say, using the same analogy of getting your driving license, if I say it's either if you're 18 or you have a driving license, you can drive. So that means when a cops pulls up on me and I'm 18, they can't take me to court or they can't take me to their cell because I'm 18. It's either I'm 18 or I have a driving license. So it doesn't mean I have to have a driving license to drive. So what OR does is it gives you the option to have one. So whenever you're writing code and anything evaluates to true, and then you have an OR, it will always be true. But then if both of them are false, it will always be false. So what to remember with the logical operator OR is it chooses either. It can either be true or false. But then if both of them are false, it evaluates to false. The last logical operator is not. So not, it negates things. So not evaluates to true if the operand is false, and evaluates to false if the operand is true. So if you say I'm 18, then say you write not 18. I'm 18 is true. So if you say I'm not 18, it's false because you're trying to negate that. So whenever something is true and you use a not operand, it evaluates to the opposite of that. So if it's true, the operand is false. And if it's false, the operand is true. Let's look at code and see what happens. Okay. So the first one that you're going to do is logical AND. So we say variable is 18 equals to true. Then variable has driving license, hope that's the spelling, is equal to false. I just have to yeah. So we start with logical and. So we say if, that's a conditional statement, if is 18 and has driving license and console log and drive a car. Else, that is if it doesn't meet any of those, we say console log not drive the car. What does it mean? You have to be 18 and to have a driving license to be able to drive a car. If you don't fulfill either of this, you cannot drive a car. So all these have to evaluate to true, true. Now, because we have a false, it means it's a false because we're using and operator. And means all of them have to fulfill the condition. So in our case, what do we expect to see? We expect to see cannot drive a car because he's 18 years, but then does not have a driving license. Let's see. Logical. Cannot drive a car because one of them has evaluated to false. So it's a false. So what happens when we use logical operand or? I'll just replace this with 2. This is what we use to denote or. So what we're trying to say here essentially is, sorry, time is about to end, but allow me to take 5 more minutes. I will be done. So what I'm trying to say essentially is, I'm trying to say if you're 18 or if you have a driving license, you can drive a car. You don't have to be 18 and have a driving license to drive a car. You can either be 18 or just have a driving license and drive. I don't care whether you're 6 or 1 year old or 20 or 90. Just if you can fulfill just one condition, then you can drive a car. So in this case, what the output that we expect to see from the console is can drive a car because is 18 is true and has driving license is false. So one of them is true. What does that mean? It evaluates to true. So let's see. Can drive a car because is 18 is true. So what happens if we say is 18 is false? This will evaluate to false. So it means you do not fulfill any of those conditions. The first one condition was fulfilled. Now here you do not fulfill any of them. So what happens is you cannot drive a car. So here is cannot drive a car. Okay. So let's see what happens if we negate is 18. So we use logical not. So we console.log. The operand that we use is a exclamation mark. Then we say is 18. So here is 18 is true. If we negate is 18, if we get the opposite of that, it will be true. Here it's false. Down here it will be true. That is what happens. When it's false, it evaluates to true when you're using logical not. And when it's true, it evaluates to false. Let's see that in action. So right now is 18 is true. If I say is not 18, it will evaluate to false because is 18 is true. So if you say is not 18, it's false. So those are the only 3 logical operators that we have. So I'll jump right into the summary of everything that we've learned today. So from the summary, we can get that we have 4 types of operators in JavaScript. One is arithmetic operators that performs mathematical operations. We have comparison operators that we use to compare 2 or more operands. Then we have assignment operators that are used to assign values on the right to the left operand. And then we have logical operators that are used to perform logical operations. And there's the part of operator precedence, which I didn't touch, but I'll just mention it and then summarize it. So when you're doing maths, you have addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If you're performing an operation that requires all of this in one line of code, JavaScript has to decide which operand is more important than the other. So when we're performing operations with different operands, we have to, there's an operand that has a high priority, there's one with low priority, there's one that has the least. So that is the way JavaScript does not just wake up and say, so because you've written 1 plus 1 plus 2 times 3, I will start by adding 1 plus 1 and then 1 plus 2 and finish by multiplying 2 times 3. So what happens is it follows a sequence of, it's something called BODMAS. So BODMAS, what it does is it first looks for bracket, which is given the highest priority, and then of, which is multiplication, then goes to division, which is the third, then goes to multiplication, addition, and then subtraction. So say you have 2 plus 2 plus 3 times 4 divided by 5. And then we have a bracket in the first 2. So what will happen is it will look at the bracket, which is the highest, and then add 2 plus 2. And then go, okay, after the bracket, what is important? We have of, which is multiplication. So what are we multiplying? We're multiplying 3 times 4. So it will skip the 4, then go to 3 and multiply by 4 and get 12. And then again, look at it. So I have addition sign and division sign. Which one comes first? In our case, division comes first. So we will divide 30, divide by 5, which is, we will get 6, and then add it to 4, which is in front of 5. So that is what happens. So what you have to remember is when you're carrying out any mathematical operation, you have to consider that JavaScript uses BODMAS to do that. So if you write your code and forget to put bracket where you want it, where is most important, your arithmetic operations will always be inconsistent. So you have to always consider that while you're writing code. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you all for listening. And thank you, Nomaka. I am,
Hi.
any question that anyone might have?
Okay, so there's one question here. I'm putting it on your screen now.
Sorry?
The question is on the screen.
Okay. In the logical operator, what about the null coalescing? Okay. When you talk about null coalescing, is you're trying to find if a value, how does that work? Okay. What happens is you're trying to find if a value is nil or is undefined. So when you're in JavaScript, we have different data types. So we have numbers, we have string, we have Boolean, then we have undefined, which means, let me see if I can write code. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can share my VS Code. Are you able to see my screen?
So hello, Pilar. No, we can't see your screen.
Okay. Someone can continue. Someone was asking a question. Okay, here's my screen.
No, there are no questions here, but I can't see your screen. Okay. Okay. Can see your screen now.
Okay, are you able to see it right now? Awesome.
It's still coming up.
So let me create a file.
Okay, yes, we can see it.
Okay. Okay. So I've created a new file so that we can see how null coalition works. So in JavaScript, we have different types of data types. I said we have string, we have number, we have Boolean. These are the most used operators. So when you're writing code, sometimes you might do something like var. If I try to do this, console.log name. In this case, name is undefined. So what if I try to get the output, what I expect to see is you can see the error. Name is not defined. That means in addition, you're trying to see if a value is null or undefined. And the operand for doing that is 2 question marks.
Valerie, can you still hear me? Hello, Valerie. Hello. Ella, can you hear me? Manuela, can you hear me?
Oh yes, I can hear you. So I think she just went off the call. So it has to be network issue, but she'll be trying to join back now. But I can hear you, Amaka.
All right.
So while I think
So
we're
we'll just
waiting for while we're waiting for her to come back, please, if you have questions, please just drop it on the chat so that when she comes, she will address any other question you have. Thank you.
yes, and you can go on to follow her on LinkedIn. It's being displayed on the screen, as well as our Twitter handle. So you can follow her on Twitter and connect with her on LinkedIn. His name is Valerie Uhuru. Also, if you're yet to follow us on Twitch, go ahead and follow our Twitch channel and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So if you have your question, as Ella has said, drop it here while we wait for her to join. So give her 2 minutes to join back in. If she doesn't join back in, we'll wrap up with the class. Then you can ask your questions on the Discord server. Thank you. Okay, so guys, if you're yet to fill the attendance form, go ahead and fill the attendance form. It's important, so please do go ahead, fill that form. Follow us on Twitch and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're yet to do any of that. Okay, she's back.
He's back.
Sorry, my internet.
Welcome back,
Which
Valerie.
Thank you. Which part did I leave?
Um, you ex- I think you were done with that question. I just put up a new question when you went off. It's on the screen right
Oh,
now.
okay, okay, okay. The addition operator is also used for concatenation. Does the subtraction operator perform the reverse of the process? No, it doesn't, unfortunately. The only operation we can do on a string is using the addition operator, which is concatenation, and that's it for that. No, you can't subtract. You have to write code, serious code to subtract. So please help differentiate between unary and binary operators. Oh yeah, they're normally not used in JavaScript. That is why I think I left them out. But sure, let me see if I can find an easier way of explaining them. So unary operators perform an operation on a single operand. Binary operation performs actions with two operands. So let me see if I can get an example of a code and then explain. So you remember the first difference is unary operator performs operations on single operands, and then binary perform operations on uh, two operands. Let me see if I can get code. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can share my VS Code, and then I'll go over operator precedence. Yes. Share screen. Are you able to see my code? Sorry, my VS Code.
Yes, it's showing now.
Okay. So I'll start with unary arithmetic operation. The arithmetic operation. I said this performs actions on just one operand. So that is like saying var a is equal to say negative minus 10, minus 20. So what this does is it reverses. You see how we have positive values and then we have negative values in maths. So 20 is positive without the negative. But if you introduce the negative, it reverses it from being positive to now being negative. So the operation has only been done on this one operand. Again, when I say var a is equal to 20 and then say var b is equal to 20 plus plus, as we've seen before. This is increment. So what increment does is it adds 1 to this value. But in this case, the only value that we are dealing with is 20. We've not dealt with any other value. So we are still dealing with 20, which is still the value that we had. So that is a unary arithmetic operation. The operation is done on a single operator. But when you talk about binary, we are doing two or more. So binary operations, you have to have var a. Sorry, we can't do that again. Var c is equal to 50, and then var b equals to 40. So when we add C plus D, we're doing a binary operation because we're dealing with two values. In this case, when I say, sorry, this makes it more clear. When I say var B is equal to A plus plus, the only value that I'm dealing with in this case is just A. I've not added anything, any other value. So I'm just adding 1 to that A. But then in binary operations, you're doing operations on two values, two different values. So that is the difference. I hope that's clear. Okay, I'd like to explain operator precedence using code. I didn't do that before. So I said JavaScript does, okay. Look at this example. We have 40 plus 38 plus 24 plus 32 divide by 4. So as a human being, if you're told to do this, what would you do? You'd come and say 40, or we're trying to get the average of, these are scores for, say, students. So the first student scored 40, the second one scored 38, the third one 24, and the fourth one 32. So we are trying to get the average of this. Normally, what would you do? You'd add the 4 of them and then divide by 4 to get the average score. But if you do this, what you'll get is 110. This is how this comes along. So you'll take 40 plus 38 plus 24 plus 32 and then divide by 4. But JavaScript, I said, follows something called Modulus. What does Modulus means? B stands for bracket. O stands for of, which in this case is multiplication sign. D stands for division. A stands for addition. Is it Modulus? So this should be multiplication. Then A stands for addition. And the last one, so the last one, it is S, stands for subtraction. So JavaScript has a hierarchy. The first thing it always looks for is a bracket. If it doesn't see a bracket, it looks for multiplication. If there's no multiplication, it will look for division. And in our case here, there's division here. So what this code will do, it will divide 32 by 4, and then we'll get 8. Let me comment this out so we can see this in real time. Your terminal. So I'm running this code so you can see the 110 in real time. So what happens is it will look for division, which is the third one, which is here, and divide 32 by 4, which in this case is 8. So what happens? It adds 40 plus 38 plus 24 plus 8 and gives you that as your average, which is mathematically incorrect, because what you're supposed to be doing is add 40 plus 38 plus 24 plus 32 and then divide the sum of all this with 4. So what needs to be done in this case to correct this? You need to introduce a bracket there. What this will do, it will tell JavaScript that the first 4 operations are the most important one. So after you've added all this, that is when you can go to division. So the first one is bracket, looks for bracket, it will see the bracket, and then add what is inside the bracket. It will try to look for multiplication, it's not there. It will go to division, and then it will find divide it by 4, and then divide it by 4. Only then can our mathematical operations be correct. So anytime you're writing code and you want your addition to be the first one, you have to put it inside a bracket. Anything that you want to be the first one, you have to put inside the bracket. And then now all the other things can follow. So the least in this hierarchy is subtraction. That is the last one that JavaScript will look for. So in our case right now, if we do this, we will not get 110. Instead, we will get the right average that we expect to see, which is 33.5. So in a snapshot, what operator precedence means is there are some operators that are more important than the rest. And in this case, bracket is important. Multiplication is the second in the list. Division is the third. Addition is the second list, and then subtraction is the list of them all. Any question?
Hello, Valerie. There are no questions again. I think that's all the questions we have.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Okay, thank you so much for coming on this session, Valerie. We appreciate your patience and we had a great session. So, before you go, someone just said, let me just drop this so that you can read it.
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, fun fact: Modulus is a mathematics principle we use to teach junior secondary students. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yes. You are in a good place because now you understand what's being done. So the same thing applies to JavaScript as well. If you don't use Modulus, your maths will be wrong. Thank you for mentioning that.
All right, thank you so much, Valerie. So, guys, you can go ahead to follow Valerie on Twitter. Twitter handle is being displayed on the screen. So you can follow her on Twitter. You can connect to her on LinkedIn as well. So thank you so much, Valerie, for tonight's class. Have
Thank
yeah,
you.
I would say have a lovely night rest. It was nice having you once again.
It was nice having you guys as well.
All right. So thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. Good
All right.
night.